and 8th special presentation.
Coming up on Artbeat Nation, a legendary rock star recalls his glory days on stage.
It was bedlam in a sense, and it was perfect for the artistic statement that I wanted to make.
A close-up look at a smash Broadway production about to gallop across the nation.
You just immediately are feeling for this animal.
An artist who brings his West African roots and global aesthetic to American galleries.
It makes you question yourself and your place in the world and your relationship with other spaces.
And a look at the lasting influence of one of the world's most iconic pop artists.
The Warhol effect is still with us.
It's all ahead on Artbeat Nation. Funding for Artbeat Nation is made possible by contributions to aid from viewers like you. Thank you. Many know Pete Townshend as a founding member of the legendary British rock band The Who, the guitarist who made a particular artistic impression by smashing his guitars on stage. But in this interview with Paul Holdengräber at the New York Public Library, Townshend reveals that there was much more behind the act of destroying guitars, and that it was his experiences while in art school that brought him to forming one of the most influential rock bands in history.
I was very lucky. I wasn't just lucky to have been the son of a popular musician or a musician playing popular music. I was also very lucky to have the timing for me when if I'd have moved into music professionally before I went to art school, I would have missed one of the most extraordinary art school courses that the UK ever produced, which was called the Basic Course, and it was revised by this extraordinary man called Roy Ascott, with two other guys, Harold Cohen, who was a computer visionary as an artist, and his brother Bernard, who went on to be the head at the Slade, the finest art school in Britain, and young painters from Cornwall, and lecturers brought in like Larry Rivers came and stayed at our college for 2 or 3 months. And Gustav Metzger, the auto-destructive artist, whose work was nothing to do with destruction at all. It was to do with the fact that we, as people, were destroying our environment. No, we were destroying nature and calling it an environment. And that as an artist, what you had was the duty to reflect that destruction. And so armed with the idea that the end was coming, the certain knowledge that the end was coming, armed with the knowledge that I had a duty to make my music sound like what it was that I thought was coming, armed with the idea that I had to do something with this band who, okay, they were not the perfect instrument. I didn't feel they were at the time, but they became so. You know, The Who, I couldn't have had better men beside me. I couldn't have. You know, in fact, if we'd have been 4 arty-farty art students who all thought like I did, it would have been a complete mess. You know, I just used to kind of walk around with my arty ideas, and the rest of them got on with the job. You know, Roger often talks about the fact that he used to have to come round and dig me out of bed, you know, but to go to shows, because I was a deep thinker. I listened to R&B records, but that moment of uniting what had happened, what I'd been taught at art school, and suddenly realizing that this little band that I was in, this little R&B band, we were just one of the bands around at the time in West London, had this potential to make this extraordinary noise. And Roger, as a singer, is quite interesting because two of the singers that he loved the most, one was Howling Wolf, who howled like a wolf. smokestack lightning, you know, like that. He would sing. And that was this little skinny little guy, this little mod guy at the front of the band, howling with this huge voice, me making my noise. And John Entwistle as a bass player was another extraordinary character. He wasn't content to play the bass. He wanted it to be more. He wanted it to be like a huge organ, and had these special strings made that didn't go boom, they went whang, and would bang away. And Keith Moon, of course, we all know about this incredibly expressive, fluid, almost orchestral drummer. He didn't play boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, like most R&B drummers did. He'd go boom, 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 it was all kind of like orchestral drumming. It was decorative. And so when I'm standing there, pretending to be, you know, the big plane that's bringing the bomb that's going to be the end of the world, isn't it sad? You know, don't look at my nose, it's coming. Around me, there's Roger going, John Entwistle banging away, making a noise like 5 or 6, you know, huge theatre organs all playing at once. And Keith making this, you know, incredible kind of, almost like timpani and cymbals and, you know, not like the normal kind of music that other bands were making. It was bedlam, in a sense. And it was perfect for the artistic statement that I wanted to make.
The genealogy of the destruction of the guitars comes
It comes out of that thing of thinking after a while that this isn't enough, and that what I have to do is I have to make some new sounds. And I start banging the guitar around, and that becomes very, very interesting. The guitar I was using in these early days was a Rickenbacker. It's a very light-built guitar. It's very delicate and thin wood and very vibrant. And it's a semi-acoustic guitar, so it would feed back easily and make this incredibly extraordinary sound. But then I would bang it in the amplifier, and as I did so, it kind of go boing, crash, and then scrape the strings, and that would make another sound of the scraping the strings up and down the mic stand. And I imagined that when I I hit the guitar on the ground, or bounced the guitar on the ground, or bashed it on a ceiling, or whatever, that it would make an interesting sound. And it did. And it was also, you know, I looked pretty cool doing it as well.
Pete Townshend's memoir, Who I Am, is on bookshelves now. Since its debut in London's West End, Warhorse has galloped away with a stream of accolades, including a Tony Award for Best Play in 2011. Now the first national touring production of the play is traveling across the country. Jared Bowen had a chance to meet with the company and get a revealing look at the show's unique equine star.
It's the English countryside, 1912. A teenager named Albert raises a colt he calls Joey. Their bond is immediate and unwavering, but at the outbreak of World War I, Joey is conscripted into the British Army.
Do solemnly swear that we shall be together again.
Warhorse traces Joey's brutal path through war and the majestic animal's endurance in a landscape of horror. Andrew Veenstra plays Albert.
I definitely think it's an anthem of peace. You look at the atrocities that were committed and why they were committed, and you're left sort of questioning what it was all about and why it was there.
The emotional heft of the show comes from the horses, life-sized puppets created by the Handspring Puppet Company, which received a special Tony Award for the effort. It's at the Boston Opera House where Joey trotted in to meet us.
This is Joey. He'll get to know you. He'll smell you. You just reach out. He's no different than any other horse. He'll give you a lot of pressure on your hand. Yep.
I mean, this is remarkable. I'm somebody who grew up riding horses. I ride every summer, and they have the mannerisms exactly down. I mean, this is a horse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joey is an elaborate creation. Handmade by over a dozen people, he is 120 pounds, roughly 10 feet long and 8 feet tall. He is framed in cane and aluminum. Leather drapes his back, and a hosiery-like fabric comprises his skin. But he is imbued with life.
The lungs of a horse are about 3 times the size of a human being's lungs. So to get the sound produced, the exhales, inhales, it takes 3 people to create that. And all 3 of them create the horse sounds and everything involved in the horse.
The 3 actors/puppeteers inhabiting Joey serve as the head, heart, and hind, manipulating the horse through a series of levers controlling 20 joints.
We all inform each other. You know, the hind, that is the engine of the body, and the head being the thought of that animal, that the breath and the engine and the mind all work together and, you know, create this really beautiful organism.
And it's a process that has become organic, say the actors. While they have basic choreography on stage telling them where to be and when, they're otherwise given free rein.
As we get further into this tour, we start to really flesh out these really tiny details of what the horse is thinking, and they surprise us when we're on stage, and that's the exciting thing.
I have a terrible habit of, like, seeing something, stealing it, putting it in the show, like, right away without telling anybody. I'll see things on YouTube, on a live horse, anything, and I'll just, and I'll just, I'll find a place to put it, and I will. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
For Veenstra, there is little question.
Joey is never anything but Joey to us as a cast. I forget, quite honestly, probably quicker than the audience does, which is pretty quick, that it's even operated by people. You just immediately are feeling for this animal.
Which makes Warhorse an unbridled success.
Filmmaker Steven Spielberg adapted the play into a film, which was nominated for 8 Academy Awards in 2012. The celebrated work of West African artist El Anatsui is all about transformation. Using found materials such as printing plates, condensed milk tins, and aluminum bottle caps, El's artwork draws on aesthetic traditions from his native country, as well as various Western art forms. His 40-year retrospective, now on display at the Denver Art Museum, reveals El Anatsui's creative process and global approach to art.
I think art should allow us to question our own experiences and challenge us to want to know more about others. Specifically for the work of El Anatsui, it's very easy to do that. You come to his work and you see that clearly it's something from Africa or from a place that you're not familiar with, and it makes you question yourself and your place in the world and your relationship with other spaces.
This is a retrospective of his 40-year career.
Seeing 40 years of my work brought together under one roof is humbling. You know, it gives me the feeling of exhilaration. It's like having a reunion, you know, of people who I've met so many years back. You go through some of the earlier work and gives you the sense that you actually didn't take a big leap, but that what you were doing was taking little steps to get to this stage.
This is an extraordinary opportunity for people to really look at an artist, how he has changed, how his ideas have changed over time, and you don't often see that.
El is a very quiet man, very private person, but someone who loves to engage with individuals that he meets all over the world, and he loves to engage with people about art.
Well, he's certainly an internationally known artist. He was pretty well known in Africa for the first 30 years and known in Europe as well.
He remains very important in Africa, specifically West Africa. He's from Ghana, but has lived and worked in Nigeria since 1975 and is very well known there.
But he really burst onto the international scene in about 2007 when he began creating a series of these metal wall sculptures.
For me, the amazing thing about El Anatsui's work is that it's so accessible. Design people can engage with it, crafts people can engage with it, painters can engage with it, and the backstory of it, the use of recycled, reused bottle caps. It's so very current to issues going on in the world, and the story is intimate to the history of West Africa as well.
There came a time that I developed the affinity for only material that has seen some use, that has had some contact with people. I find that they have something rich about them, maybe something psychic or spiritual. It kind of builds a bond between me and anybody who has had a reaction with the object.
His work is made of the things of life, of the things that we experience in our everyday world, and so we're able to come to it with our own experiences and say, okay, I understand that. That's something that's in my world too.
I like the idea of picking commonplace things and giving them a new lease of life. Most of the time the media that I've worked with came in inadvertently. It has to announce itself or bring itself in surreptitiously.
Al uses very ordinary materials to create incredible works of art. He uses these pieces in installations or in single works to tell very personal stories, sometimes his own personal stories, and other times to tell universal stories or stories about African history.
Almost all the work I've done, all the phases that I've passed through could be linked one way or another with history. Not that I was trying to recount history, but it was kind of looking at history as something that reflects back to me.
This is my 5th time installing this exhibition, so it's wonderful for me to see it installed in a different space each time because the pieces take on a whole new life. The Denver Art Museum is going to be fantastic because of all the angles.
The Libeskind Building is perfect for an artist such as Al, who makes work specifically to adapt to the environment in which it's displayed. It's meant to be different every time it's installed.
Our walls are challenging. They slant outward. And so how do you hang them? Because they can't be hung flat on a wall. So we work with forklifts. We work with teams of people to shape them. And that's what I get to do. And so I have someone in the back and I'm in the front, and I'm literally lifting up the pieces and saying, okay, let's put a hook here. And then I'll step back and say, that doesn't work. Take that out. So it's a process that you work on for a couple of hours to shape each of these pieces. And it is great fun because I get to create along with the artist. It is a complete joy to hang his works, whether they're hanging, whether they're on platforms. There's no one right way to do it. Most artists have a particular way that they'd like the piece to be seen. They create it in a certain way, and they like it presented in a certain way. And Al encourages everyone to shape the pieces as they see fit for their spaces. I think art should inspire you. You can walk through here and see just a tremendous amount of beauty. I think it should tell stories. I think it should matter to you.
Next, in his own time, artist Andy Warhol pushed the boundaries of what defined art, challenging expectations with his portrayal of popular culture. In the exhibition Regarding Warhol, 60 Artists, 50 Years at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, the works of Warhol are for the first time shown alongside the artists that reinterpret, respond, and react to Warhol's groundbreaking work.
The exhibition is meant to be a look at Warhol and his impact on contemporary art of the last 50 years. Warhol was willing to embrace anything, and that's the Warhol effect.
Well, it's a very large show, so there are 157 works total, and 51 of those are by Warhol.
In each grouping of works, there'll be a Warhol, or maybe 2 Warhols, and a group of works by other artists. Each grouping is meant to introduce other approaches to what Warhol set out.
The first section is a very large section called Daily News, from banality to disaster. He was constantly looking at the current news, to the newspaper, to magazines.
Warhol's sources were so often the most banal of subjects, but also from the Daily News he took disasters, and he would make paintings based on that.
So then that section moves into an area that has to do with American consumerism, with logos, and how other artists like Ai Weiwei have appropriated those images.
For me, one of the exciting things about the show is to see Warhol juxtaposed with, for example, an artist named Hans Haacke. And he carries the Warhol example into very political dimensions. So here he's using the look of packaging, like Warhol's soup can, to then make a political statement about where cigarettes are made, and this Senator Jesse Helms. There's lots of surprises like that, where artists can carry the Warhol example.
Another very large section is the portraiture section. We call it Celebrity and Power.
I be your mirror. I be your mirror.
For me, the 1964 turquoise Marilyn is such an iconic image and is so beautiful to begin with. It's absolutely electric in terms of its turquoise coloration. I love the fact that Marilyn said that Marilyn was the veil that she wore over Norma Jean, and I think that Warhol really sort of understood that there was some other human being beneath all of this blonde hair and color.
In 1960, in New York, there were almost no people making portraits. We have Warhol's diamond dust portrait of Joseph Beuys to exemplify Warhol celebrating artists. So behind me is a famous portrait by Chuck Close of the musician Phil Glass. There's also a photograph, Richard Avedon, made of Truman Capote. There's a painting by Alex Katz of the poet Ted Berrigan. So this gives you a sense of how, with Warhol as an example, things expand out and become very exciting.
There's another section called Queer Studies, which is really about assumed personalities, the idea that identity, especially sexual identity, is something that can be altered, can be used in a kind of fluid and shifting and changing way. And then the last sections are really more about Warholian techniques. There's a section called Consuming Images, about abstraction, seriality, and repetition. And it begins with a wonderful image of the Mona Lisa. So the rest of the gallery is in part about how other artists have absorbed this appropriation technique. And then there is a section called No Boundaries, and it really has to do with this wonderful kind of explosion of the whole Warholian phenomenon and the idea that art really can be anything.
One of the interesting things about doing this exhibition was to think about how alive the legacy is right now. Ryan Trecartin is a filmmaker. If you compare them to the Andy Warhol films, you quickly realize that Ryan Trecartin is a descendant of Andy Warhol. A show of his work opened a little over a year ago and was met by unbelievable praise. If a contemporary artist is still moved by Andy Warhol, and that artist happens to be so celebrated, then the Warhol effect is still with us.
Our idea about the exhibition was not simply an idea of direct influence, but the impact through the culture of Warhol, but also not with the idea that this is the definitive show. It should get people talking. I would hope that people think about where Warhol's impact goes beyond the galleries, and to have a kind of heightened awareness when they next go to galleries or to a department store or flip through a magazine or surf the web, and how Warhol will seem very ever-present.
After Andy Warhol's unexpected death in 1987, a foundation was set up in his name to advance the visual arts. For more information, visit warholfoundation.org. For more arts and culture, visit azpbs.org/artbeat, where you'll find featured videos and information on the Arizona art scene. Funding for Artbeat Nation was made possible by contributions to aid from viewers like you. Thank you.